especially in the 1920s, at a time when the Ku Klux Klan was very big in Yates County as well. So, but in all my research, only incident I saw between the Klan and the team, they played at where the Lake Street Plaza is now. That's where the county fairgrounds was. And you know where Allison Daniels is, on past the cemetery as you're going out of town?
Yes.
There's a hill behind there, and the Klan used to burn crosses on that hill. And there was one day into the evening where they were playing a game at the Lake Street Plaza, and they burned a cross on the hill behind where Allison Daniels is now. So, but that's the only conflict that I've seen between them. Because businessmen especially got behind the idea of the team coming, and the local newspapers did as well, because it would bring people into town, so that's good for business.
Right, yeah.
And it would promote the name of Penn when they went out on the road.
Yeah.
And part of the deal was that if they played here, they'd have to be known as the Penn Cuban Giants, which they were. So yeah, I'd say overall the community was pretty supportive. One of the problems with the team is that they didn't make the money at the ball games that they thought they were going to make.
Yeah.
And that they had financial problems. So maybe it's fair to say they supported the idea of the team, but didn't always show up at the ballpark and put their money down. So. 1920s, like 50 cents or something like that. But the fact that the Giants would pay the visiting team to come here and play them. And so, and it was usually a $50 award they'd give to the team that came in. And so they had to clear $50, and then they had to buy the baseballs and all the other equipment. So the guys on the team, they were semi-professional. You know, they didn't make much money playing ball. They just wanted to play ball. And most of them got part-time jobs around town and, you know, worked out on the farms and were able to make their living that way. But they never made a whole lot of money. And that was by the time you get to 1924, 1925, the economy is on the rise anyway.
Right, yeah.
So it helped, no question about it.
Yeah.
Locals, a lot of them were southern, out of the Carolinas and Virginia, and a number out of the New York City and New Jersey area. And like I said, they just wanted to play ball. And they started out down in Brooklyn. They were the Brooklyn Cuban Giants for a while, but there was too much competition down there. You had 3 teams in what they called the Negro League back then in New York City. And then of course you had the Dodgers and the Giants and the Yankees. So you got 6 teams.
Yeah.
That's a lot of competition. And they knew about Penn because they would go on what they called barnstorming tours, where they would just tour the Northeast and take on town teams. And in the early 1900s, Penn had a very good town team. And so when they came to Penn, even before the mid-20s here, they always did well. They thought it was a great baseball town. And so, you know, they packed up, left Brooklyn, and came to Penn, made a deal through the Chamber of Commerce to play here. Around 15 players on the team. This is actually the second year that they played here. They played as the Cuban Giants the first year, and then the team kind of broke up and got new management, and they came back the second year and played as the Penn Colored Giants. And this is off of a postcard, and that's what it says down at the bottom there, Penn Colored Giants. But you can see the Penn on their uniform, so they were promoting the community. They were all in their 20s. They probably would have been today considered good minor league talent, not major league, because there was a Negro major league, and so they were a notch or two below that, but they were good. No question about it. And they had great nicknames. I got him down here. It was Beano Thomas, Baldy Woods, and George Washington, whose first name was actually Richard there. So they had nicknames, and they took the name Cuban Giants. None of them were Cuban. They were all American blacks. But the belief back then was that white people would go to watch Hispanic players, but they wouldn't go to watch black players. And so they called themselves Cuban Giants. They developed a pidgin English, which was mainly Southern black dialogue, and they would use that out on the field, thinking the crowd would think they were speaking Spanish. But they were good ball players, but it was kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters. They not only played the game, but they put on a show, and they had a little comedy mixed in, some funny routines. And I would have loved to have watched one of their games.
That would have been awesome.
Yep.
So.
Let's see, Seneca Falls had a team. Actually, they would play, regular town teams would play them. It wasn't quite like the Deep South, where you wouldn't get a white team on the same field with a black team.
Yeah, right.
They played local town teams, Seneca Falls, Watkins Glen, Elmira. They went down into Pennsylvania a lot, and they had teams down in Pennsylvania that they played. But the biggest game they had was they played a top minor league regular team, a white team called the Toronto Maple Leafs, which now that name is the hockey team, but back then it was a really good minor league team. They paid them $100 to come down to Penn and play them, and that was one of the biggest games. They lost, but the newspaper said they were highly competitive. So.
That's nice.
Yeah. The statistic in the article here, the 1 year they were here, they played 89 games and they won 62 of them.
Wow.
But like I said, some of the town teams around upstate New York were very, very good. So
Yeah, right.
they had good competition. After the first year, which was 1924, when they were the Cuban Giants, there were 7 of them that stayed in town over the winter, and they got jobs. But it was over the winter that the team broke up. So it was those 7 guys who started the Penn Colored Giants, which played the second year, 1925, and they didn't make any money either. So, and then you look at the long term. There was only one player who stayed local for the rest of his life, and that was Rufus Johnson. And he married a local girl, lived down on what now is Linden Street, had 9 kids, all went through Penn Academy. And he was a character. He played for the Penn town team. Played for Michael Stern, a couple of business teams. Was a shoe shine man down at the barber shop, and loved to dance the Charleston. And I ran across an article in the late 1920s where he was crowned the Charleston King of Penn. So between the dancing and the ball playing and his job at the barber shop there, he did all right for himself. Now he's buried at Lakeview Cemetery. Track, an oval racetrack, and in the middle of the oval they had a grandstand for watching the races. And the ball park or ball field was set up in the middle of the oval. And part of the deal the Giants made with the agricultural society that actually runs the fairgrounds was that they would move the ball field over closer to the grandstand so that, you know, they could use it that way. So, yeah, that's where it was, where Lake Street Plaza is, where CVS and the movie theater, you know, that's where they played their ball games.
That's cool.
But there's some great old photos of the county fairs that were held in that, fairgrounds there.
That's awesome.
Also, like, what kind of agreement did they have with you said Penn?
The deal was with the Chamber of Commerce to bring them in, and it was also with the County Agricultural Society that ran the fairgrounds. So they had deals with both of them. It was a one-year contract. I don't think there was any money involved in that deal. You know, I never ran across a reference to that at any rate. So, you know, the idea was come here, promote Penn Yan, bring people in, and whatever money you make off of it, good for you.